You know, I think I've been very fair to Cosmic Fury. There's been ups and downs, but this one, rewatching it a second time, I really hated it. Now, this episode is a really important episode, and it should be a really good episode, but it wasn't. It contains the big moment of the base turning into a shuttle, taking off, getting off the planet, and of course, Fern becoming the Orange Ranger. Now, I don't have to say it as a Power Rangers fan. It's a big moment. Whether it's the city's under attack and they need someone's extra help, or just a ranger, finding themselves, like Philip, for example, in Dino Charge. Yeah, he had bad intentions initially when he wanted to become a ranger, but he found the right path and became a good person, which gave him the Energem. I don't know what happened here with Fern. There's a lot of issues in this episode. The first thing I needed to talk about is Fern. I've been ignoring her since the beginning of the season because, again, she's really not been important overall. She had to be there because she has to become the Orange Ranger. There's a lot of things that have to be set up for her to do that. But all she really has been up to this point was, the Worry Wart character and the meme generator, which I hated. I hated it back in the 90s when I was a kid, when Power Rangers stuck in slang. I hated it in the 2000s with all the weird stuff that Dustin did. And of course, who could forget Brody? This is epic! By the time the characters say things like pics or it didn't happen like Fern did here, it's like 2 years out of late. And also on top of it, who the hell likes hearing, someone say lol, LMAO, or things like that? No one ever likes hearing people do that in real life, and it dates the show on top of it. Now, another thing that I also really didn't like was the Zord footage. You can pretty much tell that, yeah, it works into the storyline. Well, they have these monsters that are on the planet that were starting to invade and go after the ship because when they hatched one of the things in the previous episode, they attacked it. Okay, fine. Problem is, the Zord footage that came from Q Ranger didn't match Eridus at all. If you were going to use the footage from those Q Ranger episodes, why didn't you make Eridus like that? This is most likely stems from the fact of budget constraints. Now, let me talk about Solon. I don't really get to talk about Solon that much because, again, she's just like, Alpha Phi. I did like the idea of her actually being a part of the morphing grid connection like all the other dinosaurs from Rafcom. We don't really get a real backstory of why the dinosaurs from Rafcom are connected to the morphing grid, but it does make sense. And it's also the main reason why Zeta was able to locate her. They do build up hints here and here, but that as far as I go in liking what they are setting up here. Now, Fern becoming a ranger is the worst kept secret. And I don't even understand why the producers did what they did in the opening specifically. They recolored her shirt to purple, which I could easily tell because I've recolored shirts many times whenever I had to do something, and you can see the edges and stuff. But I said, why did they do that in the first place? In the series, Fern wore orange all the way up until this point, and traditionally, when a new character comes in, they wear their Power Ranger color. It's always been a foreshadowing thing. Just like Kendall in Dino Charge, she wore purple jeans. She obviously was going to becoming a Purple Ranger in Dino Charge. Now, Fern becoming a Ranger, cool idea. It's the way it happened is what I'm really pissed off about. It's also one of the core reasons why Ollie had to be an evil ranger in the series, because in order for Fern to become a ranger, she needs access to a morpher. But I have a million questions here. Obviously, when the Dino Fury powers were destroyed, they lost their connection to the morphing grid. And obviously, Billy came in, used the Morphing Master staff, and reconnected to them. What was the point of the Cosmic Fury Zords? Besides losing the Zords from Dino Fury, they have no purpose in this series. Billy used the old connections of their Dino keys in order to reconnect their powers. But why did he have to make new morphers? And why did they get completely different suits when he did that? That's the thing I don't understand why they did all this. You would think the more logical direction they would have gone was connect the Dino Fury Rangers to the Cosmic Fury Zords and become Cosmic Fury Rangers. On top of which, Fern doesn't even connect to those Zords at all. She just becomes the Orange Ranger because of Solon. So every which way they gain powers is from their old powers, and the new Zords are nothing. They have no real backstory minus that little bit of, oh, maybe there was this little mechanical detonator device near the Dragon Zord, and that's all we ever got. The Zords are basically just plot devices, afterthoughts, and just stock footage requirements. They're not even consistent of what Ranger uses the Zords. In the second Zord fight, when they were fighting the guys that were on the moon of Iridis, Javi wasn't even inside the Bull Zord. That's the Black Ranger from Q Ranger, and he's not operating the Zord. He's using the Chameleon Zord for some odd reasons. Like, they don't even care what cockpit they put them in. He's just, that's it. I said before, character becomes a Power Ranger. It's a big, important moment. I remember Lost Galaxy. We just lost the original Magna Defender. Mike came back to life from his sacrifice, and Mike didn't know what to do with himself. He was gone for so many months. Could he just resume his life? He feels wasted. And the Magna Defender gave him his sword to show him, no, you are worthy of becoming a Ranger. And so Mike became the Magna Defender. Same goes for Ryan. When he was evil for all those episodes, and then he finally understood what was going on and turned good, and we got to see him more for the very first time, that was a really cool moment. What about Cam when he became the Green Samurai Ranger? He went back in time to save his friends. He figured out what happened to his mother. It was a really great multi-parter episode for him to become the Samurai Ranger. What happens here? We get a very boring, lackluster rescue of Solon. I think the problem stemmed from Solon's costume. She was really not designed to be, really used outside the base. She's not in any Japanese footage. That was an original suit that they made for Dino Fury / Cosmic Fury. The problem is they probably only have one copy of the suit, and they probably have no backups. Usually in Power Rangers case, you have to have multiple copies of the Ranger suit because things can rip and tear and do all those things. So the way the entire rescue of Solon is all awkward and horrific. Okay, they captured Solon because they wanted to feed her to the hatchling bug worm things. Okay, that's fine. That's a gruesome death. That could be a cool way to be heroic. And Fern, everyone is obviously preoccupied. Zato and Izzy are trying to get into where Solon is. They can't because Ollie is fighting them. No one is left to do anything. So Fern's like, well, I'm here. I'm doing nothing. The way the entire sequence happened was atrocious. They were filming in this awkward cave where you really can't do anything. Obviously, you could see Solon's suit is not designed for them to sit down, so they couldn't capture her in any realistic way. She's tied down with, what looks like goo and, webbing and all this other crap on it, but it's all dry and nothing. It's really not believable. They couldn't film outside. On top of it, they're CG, so that's expensive and also very limiting. For one, Fern can't fight. She doesn't know how to fight. Two, the set is extremely small, so all she's really doing is these awkward aimings of shooting the morpher. But what really harms the scene is of how nonchalant everyone is. Solon is being fed to these worms, and all intents and purposes, she would have been killed, and she just really didn't care. She was cracking jokes in the beginning of it, and then on top of it, when Fern came in, again, she has no training, no nothing. She's not scared. She's just standing there, not running away. What is going on here? Do you remember when passing the torch where Tommy was tied up and he was going to be thrown into that wormhole, black hole void thing? Turbo, one of the most goofiest seasons they've ever done, still had Tommy tied up, and this was a big moment for TJ to come in and rescue him. Well, Fern in here is doing all these weird things and not really caring, no one really caring. It was not just unbelievable, it was ridiculous. One of the worm monsters came in and knocked Solon into the wall. That was the first time Solon actually got attacked and knocked to the ground, which I'm surprised it actually did to the suit. And all that Fern did was touched Solon, and then she morphed. Not only is it the lamest ways you can become a Ranger, like, can you think of any past Power Ranger where it's ever been lamer than the way Fern got her powers? I can't think of any. The White Ranger was being secretly made and hidden, and Billy was the one who really found out about it. He came in all, dramatic from the ceiling and opened up his helmet to reveal that it was Tommy. The Gold Ranger came in as an explosion for the very first time we saw him, and then we saw he was revealed to be an alien originally, and then of course Jason got the powers. In space, Zane was frozen, and at the last minute he came out and saved Andros's butt. Not only Fern just simply touches Solon and gets her powers, they do an instant morph. We have no build-up, no dramatic moment. Even the music was lame and boring. So underwhelming. It just felt like a checkbox that they had to set up into the episode. This is where I was really scared of when they had only 10 episodes. She needed a full, proper episode for her to get her powers. I mean, even Philip, he's a side character ranger that didn't get really much to do, but him becoming a ranger, I always quote as one of my favorites in the newer PR seasons. Fern is just like, what? What did she really do? And not to mention, I have to bring up a plot hole now, because we know that Solon had the ability to give a person a Power Ranger power. Then she's a walking plot hole for all the previous episodes where they lost their powers. Because Solon at any point in time should have been like, I'm still linked to the morphing grid myself. One of yous can become a Power Ranger if you link to me. You can't 1 minute say, we're going to logically give a Ranger a power, but then not do it in the previous episodes because of reasons. And let's continue on with the more annoying bits about this episode. Explain to me why they didn't install enough seats for everyone to sit down. You have only 4 seats. The girls are in the cockpit. The guys just came back from all the Zord fights and whatnot, and there's no place for them to sit? What happened there? The only saving grace from this episode was when Heckle came back. Oh, thank God. We finally got someone that I care about that you can get a second chance with. And I was curious of what's going on here. We know Heckle's not a bad guy anymore. Obviously, he's working with Keeper to keep the Energems in check and what was going on over there. I'm supposed to be happy Fern became a Ranger, but all that happened was junk and disappointment. The thing that I noticed is that they were intended to be watched all at once. You start seeing the issues with the episodes as a standalone part, and this one really sticks out for me. And they really didn't even care about her becoming the first Orange Ranger. There was no big moment for Fern to be the hero. And you know what it also feels like in this case? It feels like stuff was cut. Almost like they might have combined multiple scripts, or the script was running long, or there were scenes that were filmed and they decided to cut them down. Because of all this nonsense, I have to give this one a 4 out of 10. They just, wasted all their chances to make things unique, from either connecting the Cosmic Fury powers to the Zords, giving them more original helmets based off the Q Ranger animals. We're just going to use these space shots and blah, blah, blah. I get it. You can't use the Q Ranger episodes for the most part because they would be in cities and whatnot. So you have this chicken and the egg problem. Again, the whole point of Cosmic Fury was to be more original. There should have been more original civilian fights, more original suit fights, things like that. Back when MMPR started, pretty much all the actors fought inside that park. If you think about it, Billy comes back, he's not in one single civilian fight at all in Cosmic Fury. He's always been in his suit, so David Yost is never on camera fighting. And he's one of the originals who could do a lot of stuff. Just like how when Adam came back in Overdrive's anniversary, he had one fight dedicated to him, and that was cool. Yeah, we're getting plot, yeah, we're getting story with Zato, but it doesn't make up for the fact of all the other wrong things that happened. I want to see Ollie and the Rangers fight. The most of the time we ever see the Rangers are in the Zord cockpits. I think another theory of what happened here, I think episode 5 and 6, they had to be the bottle episodes. Bigger stuff does happen in the later episodes, and I think they needed to save money up for those episodes. So ultimately, it's a combination of many factors of why this didn't work out, right? Now, I pray this is the last time the episodes are not in great shape.